Yeah, well, there's also a few things in the Milgram experiments that most people aren't aware of that are really, really fascinating. So basically, Stanley Milgram was studying why people would comply, and invariably the previous world wars were very shocking to people. How both sides, complied with, and obviously one side often was always painting the bad light. But Milgram then was trying to study why would people comply and under what conditions. So he created this experiment where there's an actor on the other side of a door, and the participant in the study is told that the actor's wired up to the machine that the participant's about to press. And what he's instructed to do, he or she, is to press a button when the person in the white coat asks them to do so. And Milgram is measuring how many people would push that button when it starts to get to it's an electric shock that's administered. And they're going all the way up to the point where that electric shock can be fatal. Now, so Milgram's measuring how many people would literally hurt someone else just because authority told them to do so. And it turned out it was about 67%, which is really shocking. But the last 4 years is like a real life Milgram experiment. But people are so driven to not push against authority for a number of reasons. And I think partly because of our upbringing. And we can go into that because we've been down some research recently. It's really fascinating. But one of the most fascinating things about that study is that Milgram surveyed a group of experts before the study. Now, there was a group of psychology students, and they were estimated how many people would push the button, and they said 1 in 100. Okay. Now, when they asked the psychotherapists, they actually said 1 in 1,000 would push the button. Okay. Now, it's very revealing because even the experts back then were notoriously terrible at predicting behavior. And the reason is because most of the drivers of behavior are hidden. A lot of them are actually hidden from the person conducting the behavior. So, for instance, virtual signaling, how many people would say, I'm going to do this because it's a great virtual signal? They probably wouldn't, would they? They would, wear the mask or wear the shirt or whatever. But it'd be very hard for them to admit that to themselves because, it wouldn't look good to them. Their self-image would suffer. So because you've got these hidden drivers to behavior, experts in the past have been very poor at predicting behavior. But because now behavioral science a couple of decades ago stopped listening to people and started watching them. Okay. And that's a very good piece of advice. If you want to know someone's true intention, just watch what they do. Yeah. Yeah. Because, we've all been in relationships where what someone's saying doesn't match what they're doing. And behavior is far more telling than people's words. Words are cheap, as it were. So when it comes to compliance, very few people are going to say, you were quite open, weren't you, when you were talking about when you were a kid? But most people don't want to say, oh, I'm a good little citizen, I love to comply. So they're going to say, if you ask the public if they're critical thinkers, you're going to get a high 90% answer.
What the Milgram experiment really showed is that normal people will do horrible things when authority tells them to do it. Yet most people don't believe that most other people would, and they definitely don't believe that they would do it themselves. But the reality is, as you said, that experiment suggests that 67% of people would actually press the button. Do you remember, I think there was a certain measurement in terms of how many would press the button if it was like a lethal level? Do you know what
that was? I think that was 67% up to the lethal number.
Wow.
You see, what you've got, this has been replicated time and time again, and obviously you probably know about Solomon Asch, about the line lengths, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So,
do you want to explain those just for the audience?
Yeah, so Solomon Asch, funny enough, I found out recently that Solomon Asch actually ran those studies because he didn't believe that would happen.
Thanks for watching this video, and if you want to catch the entire episode, head on over to the Radical Health Rebel podcast, where you can subscribe by scanning the QR code on the screen.